Mins, this is Tismare. You two should get along well. I was shocked, speechless. Who is Tismare? This was clearly Sadie's head, planted on a puppet's body, made into a new puppet. Ding! Wisnovel reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. I was so frightened that I ran away. Sewing a human head onto a puppet's body, and it could actually become a living being? Although I had seen with my own eyes in the basement that the puppet's head could move its eyes and twist its neck. But when I found out that the deceased Sadie could walk, talk, just like a living person, I was extremely terrified. Even scarier, Sadie seemed to have forgotten human memories, asking me questions all day long. Mins, what does Toby like to eat? Mins, what time does Toby wake up? Mins, what kind of clothes does Toby like to wear? I want to buy him some. Even the way she addressed Toby was the same as me. Clearly, only I could call him by the endearing nickname, Toby. Now it became exclusive to both of us. I couldn't take it anymore. She, with Sadie's head, behaving as if deeply in love with Toby, hypocritically wanting to be friends with me. I decided to kill her, to end the agonizing and painful days. On the weekend, Toby went to deliver goods to buyers. As an excellent puppeteer, Toby's works were very valuable, selling for as little as thousands or as much as tens of thousands. So, Toby was very wealthy, and I, self-proclaimed as his wife, did not lack money either. Tismer, I'll take you shopping. Let's buy things that Toby likes together. I took a stack of cash from Toby's drawer, planning to carry out my plan. Tismer, no. Sadie had no doubts at all. Immediately changed into clothes and shoes, happily went out with me. I have to say, Toby's skills were superb and mysterious. A slight makeover on Sadie's puppet head was enough to outshine a crowd of beauties. The two of us walked hand in hand on the street. This was the first time I had been out in years. Toby never let me leave the villa for half a step. He said, there were bad people outside who might bully me, harm me. I used to be very obedient. Now, I just wanted to get rid of my love rival with single-minded determination at any cost. Sadie? Not far away, a man suddenly exclaimed loudly. I looked in the direction of the sound. Sadie had long forgotten the past, indifferent, pulling me to keep walking forward. My precious daughter, you've been away from home for over half a month. Where do you think you're going? The man limped up to us. Sadie was terrified, grabbed me and immediately ran away. Mins, run. Toby said there are bad people outside who will bully me, harm me. It's true. I couldn't believe Toby actually said the same thing to her. Anger almost overwhelmed my reason. I grabbed her and we ran wildly, shaking off the stranger who was chasing us. Finally, we arrived at a bridge over the river. Below was turbulent waves, endless river water. There was no one around, just desolation. I stopped at the highest point of the bridge. Tismer, stop running. He didn't catch up. Sadie happily said, Mins, you're amazing. I leaned on the bridge railing, staring at the rolling river, deep and unfathomable. There are fish under the bridge. These are Toby's favorite fish, Tismare. Look. I pretended to be delighted. As soon as Sadie heard the name Toby, she immediately fell for it. She leaned over, peered down. Where are the fish? I seized her legs, exerted all my strength, and effortlessly threw her into the river. The puppet's body was so light. Without a struggle, effortlessly, I sent her to her death. Pretending as if nothing had happened, I returned to the villa. This time, Sadie would never come back. Toby returned home in the evening, and I complained to him first. Toby, Tismare, and I had a quarrel, so I kicked her out. If I make up another excuse, it will only expose my whereabouts. Kicking someone out of the house, this behavior is in line with my character and style, and it won't raise Toby's suspicions. Where did she go? Toby instantly became nervous. I blinked my eyes, mimicking Sadie's innocent look. I don't know, she didn't say. A slap landed on my face, making my ears buzz. UV caused big trouble for me. Toby was uncontrollably angry. My face was swollen and sore, tears streaming down. How could Toby hit me for another woman? How could he bear to be so harsh? Mins, listen carefully. No matter who asks, you have to insist that you don't know me, and this villa is your home. I nodded, reaching out to grab Toby's sleeve. Toby, are you leaving me? A hint of reluctance appeared in Toby's eyes. He caressed my cheek and said something strange that I couldn't understand. Darling, it's okay. I will make another you. We will always be together, never to part. I believed him. No matter what Toby said, I would unconditionally believe. This strange feeling, like the absolute loyalty of a slave to its master, was an innate instinct for me. I helped Toby pack up valuable things, and he left the house overnight. Before leaving, Toby kissed my forehead, held my hand, and made a promise. I engraved his instructions in my heart. I will guard our home. Wait for him. Things were not as beautiful as I imagined. A few days later, the police came knocking on the door. Someone downstream of the river found a swollen head in the water, with the body missing. The police classified it as a heinous dismemberment case. They extracted human tissues from the head and, after comparing them with the database, found that the deceased was Sadie Fox, who had gone missing after leaving home a while ago, and whose disabled father had reported her disappearance seeking help. The police checked the surveillance videos along the way and, based on her father's testimony, successfully identified me. They went door to door checking security cameras until they finally found my address. They suspected me of being the murderer of Sadie Fox. What's your name? Min. Mins, how old are you? Suddenly my mind went blank. How old am I? I looked at the full-length mirror in the living room, my face young and beautiful, no less than the deceased Sadie. Probably 20 years old, I said uncertainly. The officer frowned. Stop trying your luck. Answer truthfully, the male officer said angrily. I couldn't help but smile. I'm not lying. I should be 20. The female officer said sternly, please show us your identification and cooperate with our investigation. Identification? I don't remember having any identification. In my memory, Toby is my everything, my God. Miss Mins, if you confess everything, you will receive a lighter punishment. Think about your future. The female officer tried to persuade me earnestly. Unfortunately, I only obey Toby. To me, this group of people is nothing. The male officer took out a photo and showed it to me directly. Do you know this girl? I looked at Sadie's smiling face in the photo and felt disgusted and hateful. But following Toby's orders, I shook my head and denied, I don't know her. Yuri still lying. The male officer opened his computer and played a video clip showing me and Sadie holding hands and running on the street. I fell silent. The female officer then showed me another photo. She's dead. This is the head that was salvaged. I glanced at the swollen and rotting head, almost laughing. What a beautifully dead body. It suits Sadie perfectly, naturally beautiful in life. Her face turned into a lump of rotting flesh after death, allowing maggots to feast on her marrow. Perfect. What are you laughing at? The male officer suddenly asked me. I looked up at him. I'm laughing at how boring you are. I didn't kill this girl. Interrogating me is useless. The male officer's gaze sharpened, and after a moment of thought, he said, you hate her. I remained silent. Toby once said that no matter how severe the torture and questioning, keeping quiet is the best way to protect him. I will protect Toby with my life. The police and I endured 5 hours, but unfortunately, they didn't get any answers. As they left, the female officer requested to pull out a few strands of my hair. I didn't know what her purpose was. These days, my head has been in a fog, often feeling mentally confused. Before, when Toby was around, he was all I could think about. Now, with Toby gone and unable to contact him, my mind is in chaos. I want to go out, but there are police cars guarding the door. As a suspect, I am closely watched by the police 24 hours a day. Anxiety and restlessness are pushing my emotions towards irritability. Some unfamiliar faces appear in my mind. They chatter, repeatedly calling out a familiar name, Lorna Shaw. Who is Lorna Shaw? I have a splitting headache, curled up in the corner of the living room, arms around my knees, wishing I could disappear into the floor. Toby, where are you? I keep praying in my heart, keep silently pleading. Toby, what should I do? Please, tell me. Lorna Shaw, are you okay? I suddenly woke up. In front of me were police officers questioning me. They were staring at me with strange eyes, as if I were a mental patient. What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? The male officer asked tentatively. I looked around, observing my surroundings. This was Toby's villa, our home. Since Toby had not returned, I had to keep my promise to him. I don't know anything, and I will never tell. I leaned against the corner, exhausted, closed my eyes, feeling like a wilted eggplant in the wind and frost. The female officer sat beside me, took out a report, and handed it to me to read. Lorna Shaw, your name is not Mins. You are 23 years old, not 20. This is not your home. Your household registration is in South City. You are not a local resident. My pupils gradually dilated. How could this be? I am Mins. I am Toby's fiance. You are deliberately trying to deceive me. I won't fall for it. I tore up the test report, went crazy, and scattered scraps of paper all over the floor. The male officer spoke sternly, determined to overturn all my understanding. Lorna Shaw, come to your senses. Last time we took your hair for testing, through gene testing of the hair follicle roots, we have matched you with your family and verified the photos and appearances. According to the missing persons database, we found your information. In August last year, you went to the city to work alone, lost contact since then, and your mother reported to the police in September. I covered my ears and shook my head desperately. I won't listen. You are liars. You are all bad people. You want to harm me. I didn't believe them. There must be a mistake somewhere. Lorna Shaw, look at who she is. The female officer brought in an elderly woman with white hair. Her steps were shaky, and when she saw me, she became emotional. Lorna, my child, Mom finally found you. The woman rushed over, hugged me, and cried bitterly. She was my mother? I stood stiff in place, for a moment having the illusion this middle-aged woman was very familiar, as if I had seen her in a dream. The female officer kept talking, trying to awaken my memory. Lorna Shaw, you lost your father in childhood. Your mother raised you alone through hardships. You two relied on each other, farming in the village for a living. Have you forgotten all of this? I held my head, feeling a splitting headache. My mother held my hand, soothing me repeatedly. Lorna, don't be afraid. You are really my daughter. Which mother would mistake her own child? Take your time to think, don't rush. She opened the album on her phone. Every precious photo in it was of me. But why did my memory only have Toby in it? The male officer brought in a professional doctor. After a simple observation and 2 rounds of questioning, the expert concluded that I might have a mental illness, and it was my alter ego who killed Sadie Fox. I burst out laughing. experts decided to use hypnosis to awaken the culprit inside me. The police demanded my cooperation. I lay on the sofa, watching the expert acting mysteriously, gesturing with tools, feeling no drowsiness at all. Seeing my stubborn condition, the expert decided to use acupuncture therapy to make me fall asleep quickly through acupuncture. He laid out a row of needles of different sizes. Suddenly, the figure of Toby flashed in my mind. In this world, only Toby could hurt me, touch me. How could this expert dare to use needles on me? Rebellious thoughts arose in my mind, and I grabbed a long needle, stabbing it into the expert's eyeball. He dodged quickly, the needle tip piercing his facial skin, blood oozing out. "Quick, someone, give her a sedative," the expert yelled in pain. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Can't bear this little pain? Do you know how it feels to be dismembered?" Several police officers rushed in, grabbing my arms, injecting the needle into my flesh. They waited for me to calm down and fall into a deep sleep. However, I remained wide awake as usual. What's going on? Everyone was baffled. The sedative was fine. The strange one was me. The expert suggested there must be something wrong with the suspect's body, unable to be hypnotized, sedatives ineffective. "You'd better draw her blood for testing." A woman claiming to be my mother ran over, holding my hand, crying loudly. "Lorna, why are your hands so stiff, so cold?" She rubbed my palm, her shoulders trembling, her face showing a mix of tenderness and confusion. I looked puzzled. They rolled up my sleeve, ready to draw blood. "Ah!" The medical expert suddenly screamed. There was no visible vein in my arm, on the back of my hand. The pale skin was pierced with a needle, but no blood came out. I didn't even feel the slightest pain. "Are you even human?" the expert blurted out. Everyone was shocked once again. Their gazes towards me began to change strangely. "Lorna, what's wrong with you? Say something." Mom panicked. She squeezed my arm, took off my shoes, checked the soles of my feet, trying to find a clearly visible vein. This time, even I was dumbfounded. The police took me to a secluded designated hospital for a detailed examination. The conclusion was that my body turned out to be a puppet covered in living human skin. I was sent to the Fantastical Events Institute. The staff here are all experts, specializing in investigating mysterious cases related to supernatural phenomena. Several masters examined my condition and provided reasonable explanations. I was killed by the murderer, brutally dismembered, mixed with poisonous substances, and melted into a medicinal primer. The murderer was a master of evil witchcraft. He made a human-shaped puppet, boiled the medicinal primer into a paste, attached it to my skin, and glued on my skull. Then, using his blood as a medium, he fed the human-headed puppet, awakening it to life. I became his faithful servant. Then I lost my memory and only obeyed him. There were only two ways to resolve this. First, soaking me in water until the medicinal primer on my body melted, the skin fell off, the skull dropped, and the witchcraft would be resolved, like the way Sadie died. Second, if the murderer stopped feeding fresh blood, the human-headed puppet would gradually lose control, decay, wither, and eventually die. Like the ending I was about to face, my beliefs gradually collapsed. It turned out that Sadie and I were both human-headed puppets made by Toby. No wonder after Sadie was resurrected, she loved Toby deeply, even trying to please me and flatter Toby. We were just toys of Toby. The strong love in my heart gradually turned into overwhelming resentment. Without Toby's blood control, I gradually remembered my past self. Coming from a rural background, I was unwilling to farm for a lifetime, longing to make it big in the big city. On a local website, I found a job as an assistant, with meals and accommodation provided, and a monthly salary of $5,000. I thought that this job could save me living expenses, and it didn't require work experience, which was a good opportunity. So, I went to Toby's villa, attended the interview, and started working the same day. Little did I know, this was the beginning of my nightmare. I had never given in, resisting desperately time and time again. However, the difference in physical strength made me lose the battle. Toby used thin wires to wrap around my neck and strangled me brutally. I remembered everything. As I was dying, Toby caressed my skin. He said, "From now on, you will be called Minz. You are a puppet that I have minced piece by piece, a piece of art I have painstakingly created." I reminisced about Sadie's name, Tismer. Toby wanted to call her dismembered. He must have personally dealt with Sadie's body, probably enjoying the process of dismemberment. I told the police everything I knew, including the secret underground basement in the villa. It was a dungeon that never saw the light of day, with walls and floors covered in eerie spells, filled with evidence of Toby's crimes. The murder case was successfully solved. The police announced that the culprit in the case of the female corpse by the river was the deceased's boyfriend, who killed his girlfriend, dismembered her, and dumped her body due to emotional disputes. The case caused a stir in public opinion. To arrest Toby, the police invited professionals from the Fantastical Events Institute to investigate together. Toby was found in a cave in a desolate mountain. He refused to cooperate, obsessed with a strange and mysterious ritual. When he was captured, he shouted, "Just one more step, and I can bring the dead back to life." In the end, Toby was sentenced to death. I avenged my great hatred, fulfilled my wish, and my life came to an end. Fortunately, my mother had always been by my side, giving me a moment of tenderness. She held my skull, tears streaming down her face. "Lorna, you have lived a bitter life, but you will be happy in the next life." life. Mom will always love you.